Hello, it is me again, Becky. Thank you for stopping by. I'm not in my room today because I am in a hotel in Ocean City, Maryland. My brother and sister-in-law are making their way over here for a day to visit my sister and I, so we thought we would come to Maryland to see them. And I found a bookstore here called The Buzzed Word. So let's check out what this bookstore is like. Let's check out The Buzzed Word. Books and wine. That's cute. What is this book? I've seen this book around. So this is a smaller bookstore, but as you saw, it is a combo bookstore / wine bar. You can go in there and do wine tastings, and they have a pretty decent wine selection. My sister chose to try wines while I browsed books. It is accessible. It's one floor. The aisles are pretty spacious, so I don't feel like you would have too much trouble maneuvering around if you had a mobility aid. We were greeted when we walked in, and the saleswoman, while she wasn't engaging in the moment, if we asked her a question, she was very helpful and like suggesting places to eat and stuff like that. So, you know, it could have been better, but it wasn't the worst by any means. I feel like they had a good selection of books to choose from various genres and authors. They have some cute little seating arrangements, so if you want to get a glass of wine, you can sit down and you can chit chat or you can read. In the evening, she actually turned off the overhead lights and it was just twinkle lights, so it was very ambient, but it wouldn't be like the ideal environment to read in, but it added a little whimsy to the place. They do sell things other than wine and books. There were stickers and tote bags and candles and whatnot like that. They do have a book club that if you're local to the area, you can join as well. And they do take books for store credit, and you can use that credit same day. They put it on a gift card, so you can use it to buy books or you can use it to buy wine, which I thought was a really nice touch. So I did walk out with a book there. I found this book called Road Trip with a Vampire. And on the back it says, a vampire who can't remember his past and a witch with secrets of her own hit the road in this zany cross-country romantic comedy. So I saw witch and you knew that that piqued my interest. But on the top it shows them in daylight, and then you flip the book over and it shows them in the nighttime with her hat on. And I also got a bookmark from the Buzzword that says, read banned books. So all in all, I thought this was a really cute bookstore in this area. If you are in Ocean City, Maryland, and you're here, you know, going to the beach or whatever, and you're a book lover, you might as well pop into it and check it out and get yourself a glass of wine if you want to. And I would definitely check this place out if I was ever back here for sure. I would definitely bring some books to exchange for store credit if I was ever back here. So it's one that I definitely suggest you check out. I have another bookstore adventure that I want to throw in here. I went to the Romantasy Bookstore in South Jersey, so check out this bookstore. Oh, look, you can sit right there and order groceries while I bookshop. So this is a romance-only bookstore. It is quite cute on the outside, and when you walk in, it's quite cute on the inside as well. They are an accessible bookstore, and they are connected to the adult toy store right next to it. So you can get your toys and your romance books all in one fell swoop. When I walked in, I was not greeted, and my sister and I were the only ones in the store, and the woman working behind the desk, she didn't say a word to me the entire time I was in there, as the only customer, until I went up to check out and I asked her, hey, do you have a book? And then she looked for it and they didn't have it. So the customer service was not good at all. Now, when you walk into the toy store right next door, the woman working there, she was super helpful. So the customer service on that side was much better. As far as the book selection, it wasn't the most spectacular book selection in my opinion. Of all of the romance bookstores I've been to, it was a pretty mid-level selection. They were mostly the popular romances that people would be looking for. I like romance bookstores that have a good variety of indie and popular books, so that way I can find something new. And this one, when I was looking at the shelves, there were very few titles that I hadn't heard of before. I will say the biggest subgenre that had the biggest selection was probably their contemporary romance section. I had to question, I'm like, why is it called a Romantasy bookstore? Because their Romantasy section was pretty freaking small. And then I realized that the toy store next to it was called Fantasy Gifts. And so they added the romance bookstore to the Fantasy Gifts, and that gives you the Romantasy. The layout of the bookstore did allow for easy maneuverability and for a lot of people to be in there without being right next to each other. They did have a cute little seating arrangement. However, when I went to sit down on that thing, it was the most uncomfortable seat I had ever sat in. It was so hard as a rock that I was like, wow, I can't even sit here for that long. They do have a trade-in program. They will take used books that are romance specific in good condition for store credit. However, I didn't really think that their buyback program was that great either. They only offer $1 for paperbacks and $2 for hardcover. I've been to other bookstores that give you much more for your books, so I wasn't super impressed by that either. They do have a loyalty program where if you spend so much you get points, and then you can use those points to buy books as well. But because I wasn't impressed with the selection, I wasn't impressed with the customer service, I personally would never go back to this bookstore. That being said though, I did buy a book there. I was actually going to buy 2 books, but because I wasn't that impressed with the customer service, I was like, nah, I'm just going to buy 1 book and call it good. So I walked out with Cowboy Casual. I think this is a Friends to Lovers Second Chance, maybe. I have read Holly Renee in the past, and she's hit or miss with me, so I thought I would give this a try. I also did get a romance reader little bag thing because I use these. These are pretty much my purse, and so whenever I find one that I like, I tend to buy it. And I did get a bookmark to add to my bookmark collection. If you are a romance reader and you live in this area, this would probably be a great bookstore for you to stop at, because I think it is the only bookstore in the area. However, if you spend just a little bit more time and drive on over to Kiss and Tell, which is in Collingswood, they are a much better romance bookstore than the Romantasy Bookstore. I don't really recommend wasting your time to go to said bookstore when there are other romance bookstores in South Jersey that you could go to. So that was my bookstore adventure vlog. Could you leave me a wine bottle emoji? And with that, thank you so much for watching, and until my next vlog, go out there and support your local indie bookstores. Bye!